And hello, hopefully we're all live now. Sorry, we've been having some technical difficulties with LinkedIn Live. So I'm hoping that those technical difficulties have been solved. Meanwhile, we've lost 15 minutes. So I'm going to quickly jump into today's topic, which is VEECs. How can businesses beat the energy price surge? As we all know, energy price rises are going up and up and up. And businesses are really about focusing and focusing on how businesses can take advantage of environmental certificates and a discounted loan product to deliver benefits to them. So it looks like we've got the technology sorted today. Again, sincere apologies for the mess up this morning. So quickly, Hamish McGovern is joining us. Hamish, I'll let you quickly introduce yourself, and then we can jump into the topic quickly.
Thanks, Scott. Sounds like we're fully live now. So Hamish McGovern, I'm the Managing Director at Northmore Gordon. We help businesses decarbonise and reduce their energy spend through environmental certificates and carbon and energy advice. So great to be here. Let's
Right.
get going, Scott. We'll roll it fast.
Yeah, quickly, I'm Scott Bocskay. I'm CEO, Managing Director of Sustainable Australia Funds. We're an environmental upgrade agreement financier. What are environmental upgrade agreements? They're effectively a loan which is repaid through council rates for projects that deliver environmental benefit. And that's the topic of discussion today. We've just launched a new product, which is a discounted interest rate discounts of up to 2%, where interest rates are going up and up and up. We're offering discounted interest rates by utilising this VEECs in Victoria as an opportunity to bring forward the value today, but then also over the long term of the loan. Because of the technical difficulties, we're going to have to try and race through some of this on a subject here. So unfortunately, we can't help technology sometimes, but that's what we are here today. So we're going to open up to questions, hopefully in the next 20 minutes. So please enter in your questions into the LinkedIn Live chat, and we'll get to those in order as we go through them. So first and foremost, Hamish, maybe you can explain to me, what are VEECs? You know, how are they created, and just give us the
2-minute pitch. All right. Okay. So look, I know there's a few people on board on the call who already know, so we'll keep it high level. So the VEU program, Victorian Energy Upgrades, which has been around since 2009. Basically, energy retailers have to buy a certain amount of energy savings each year. So it's funded through the energy retailers. There's a whole raft of activities that can be done. Obviously, I think a lot of people were very familiar with their lights being changed at home and at the office, which have been funded through VEECs. Likewise, there's now heat pump technology, hot water heat pumps are being funded by it. So a raft of activities, been around for a long time. Since 2017, it has started to allow measurement verification method, project-based activities. VEECs, I'll come back to a second, because I will talk very briefly about LGCs as well, just so people understand, because I know we've got a lot of solar retailers and installers on as well. So VEECs Victorian certificate, they represent a megawatt hour of energy saved. Actually, they represent a tonne of carbon saved, but they're measured in megawatts converted to tonnes. The VEECs, the important thing about the VEECs is you actually get, when you calculate it and do it, you get the 10 years of savings effectively paid at that point in time when you register the VEECs. LGCs, I'll switch now to the federal scheme. The large-scale renewable energy target, which has been around, I think, since 2011, allows you to register LGCs after the generation's occurred for your solar system. So traditionally, if you registered a system larger than 100 kilowatts and you're registering LGCs on maybe a yearly basis or a quarterly basis, you'd get them each year up to 2030. So the difference here is now, instead of actually having to wait till the end of 2030 to get all of your certificates, the Victorian Energy Upgrade program has allowed solar systems to be registered and used and monetize those energy savings. So an important difference is it's about the energy savings behind the meter.
Yeah.
The LGCs are about the generation. Yeah, go Scott.
So that's an important kind of thing. So when you talk about environmental certificates, there's a raft of these programs across Australia. We're talking about the Renewable Energy Target, which is a federal government scheme, which is for solar systems, both small and large scale. And then the Victorian Energy Upgrades is a state-based certificate scheme. But it's not specifically for renewable energy projects, is it? It's also energy efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, it's energy savings. So this is the weird thing a bit about using it for solar. So it's about reducing your energy at your site, reducing your bills at your site, and providing a financial incentive to do that. Just probably a little bit much detail, but both the VEECs and the LGCs are generally bought by energy retailers against targets they have. LGCs are also bought by people wanting to do offsets or buy renewable energy without installing the capacity on their roof, if you like. So,
yeah.
So maybe that's enough about the differences between the two. Maybe I'll jump into solar VEECs briefly.
So going to that point, the Victorian Energy Efficiency or the Victorian Energy Upgrade Scheme is an energy efficiency scheme, but under that scheme, you can consider renewable rooftop solar behind the meter solar as an energy efficiency measure. Just talk a little bit about the methodology of how that actually happens.
Yeah, so solar VEECs, as we, I suppose, colloquially call it. So it's under what they call the project-based activities method. Oh, don't worry about that. It's a measurement verification. Basically, we look at the energy usage over a 12-month period, usually 12 months before and after, but focus on the 12 months afterwards, and look at the reductions that have occurred due to the solar. But we do this by actually doing a model of production for the customer to work out, take out weather factors and their production changing over time. So we're able to model the energy savings. So it's measured, but it's actually a modeled thing to take out the variations of production.
And you touched on it just before, but once you've measured the performance of the system, the certificates are then created based upon 10 years of forecast. And that's because you've got some regression analysis into the model. Is that right?
Yeah, so unlike the LGCs that you're getting in arrears after you've generated, you're getting, once we've done all the modelling, approximately the certificates will be registered 16 to 18 months after the commissioning date of the solar system. At that point, we're able to register 10 years worth of effectively the savings, if you like, and receive the VEECs for that 10-year period.
Right. So in normal circumstances, the VEECs are created, after that 12-month monitoring period. So you kind of expect that to be around 18 months and beyond. That's when the certificates are created?
Yeah, around 18 months, yeah.
Yeah, right. And so in that way, albeit the time difference, there are similarities between the renewable energy target and this methodology under the VEU, in that there is a deemed amount of certificates created at that point in time, similar to what you see within the STC space, where for below 100 kilowatts, that's kind of,
Yep. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Obviously, the STCs you get sort of 3 months after commissioning, whereas VEECs you're getting sort of 18 months afterwards.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the key points is what we came to this market here is because it's based upon performance. One of the things that we see under the VEEC model here is that there's a risk that the actual certificates won't be created, but that can happen for a number of different reasons. Do you want to touch on why that is the case?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so just one other section on the STCs. Obviously, you're getting that straight away. It's discounted into the upfront price. It's much harder for the value for VEECs to be done that way, and that's one of the beauties of what you're doing with the UAE, right, or the Environmental Upgrade Agreements, is you're packaging in all that value to give the customer an immediate benefit, which helps overcome that barrier of the VEECs.
I'm trying to get to there, but yeah, let's.
All right, I'm jumping ahead. All right.
Yeah, that's all right. No, it's all right. We'll get good. Yeah.
All right. So look, we've done solar VEECs for a really wide range of projects, for shopping centres, for aquatic centres, for for a lot of manufacturing, cardboard and wood panel manufacturing, also for quite a bit in things like wineries and fruit packing and cold stores. So there's a wide range we've done. So one of the challenges, though, well, not challenges, but the method, what we have to do is look at what's happening at the site, model that, do the regression analysis, so map the energy usage against the production that's occurring, and also look at other factors that are happening at the site to make sure that we take those into account. And we've had very good success at doing that, and landing within plus or minus 5% of the, probably even less usually, of the forecast figure, often greater than what we forecast too.
I think that's one of the interesting things about solar, right? It's quite a predictable outcome. But VEECs, just to kind of segue a little bit here, VEECs can be used for multiple types of projects, can't they? It's not just, we're not just talking about solar here. What are some of the other use cases of VEECs as well under this method?
Under this method, other things might be, so you can actually do gas boilers. Large-scale gas boilers can be used to reduce increase the efficiency of the gas boilers, or moving from gas boilers to electric heat pump, for instance. We're seeing that electrification and the gas strategy for Victoria. That's an important one. I think we'll see more and more of that. And then things like HVAC and chiller upgrades and things like that. So yeah, the EUAs could be used to fund all of those and help with that issue with the costs, the value of the VEECs being away from the track.
So one of the key things that we've seen with this VEECs and this methodology, back to solar here, is that there's always a risk that the value of the VEECs won't come through in 18 months' time. And that's because of technology performance, but also of production value on site. So if you have a lower production site this year, you might generate lower amounts of VEECs. Is that right?
No, well, not really, because it's actually about correlating the energy usage with production. So it's actually around, the main thing that's going to generate the number of VEECs is reducing your energy drawn from the site based on what you would have anticipated for that level of production.
Yeah, but so if you've, for example, doing less production and consuming less energy on site, therefore there's more solar being exported.
There's more export, yes.
Yes. So that would decline the value of the VEECs.
That's correct.
I think that's one of the things that why we came to this discounted product, is that to bring forward the value and take away the performance risk from the client. So what is our product? Our product basically offers customers a 2% interest rate reduction on the EUA. In return, the VEECs get assigned to Sustainable Australia Fund. Now, the benefit of that is that you get the benefit up front. So a 2% interest rate is very similar to having a financed STC project. Repayments are reduced because of the nature of the certificates, right? So you reduce your repayments, you're getting that immediate cash flow benefits because your savings remain the same. The other benefit of doing this is the 2% interest rate applies for the term of the loan. So EUAs we can do up to 20 years, and they're repaid quarterly through council rates. The benefit there is that under STCs, that runs out to 2030, and the value of STCs and LGCs for that matter stop in 2030, whereas the VEECs and the discounted interest rate can apply for the full 20 years. So what are we now? We're 2023. You could still be getting an interest rate reduction by 2024 because of the value of the VEECs assigned to us today. So that combined with the flexibility of EUAs being attached to the land, it doesn't matter if you're here for the full 20 years of the loan can still stay in place and be assigned to incoming owners as well as tenants as well. So I think that's a really important factor to really consider here, is you're getting a full 20 years under the other scheme. The federal government's it cuts off at 2023. The other advantage is that no matter the performance of the project, the interest rate and the repayments will remain the same, right? And because we assume a certain value of VEECs, and if there's a shortfall of that, we'll add that shortfall to the loan balance, extend the loan term so the repayments remain the same. So from customers' point of view, you get the benefits up front, you're protected from downside, but then you also get upside. So if there is an overperformance to what we expect here, you'll get a cash lump sum into the business once the VEECs are created. So that's really how the product works. I mean, I think one of the important things to touch on here is what we're seeing happening within the solar market. When we've seen the solar being generated under the renewable energy target, what we actually see is there's a lot of undersizing happening around that 99 kilowatt system to take advantage of the upfront subsidy. With this product, it overcomes that in that no matter the size of the system, i.e. above 100 kilowatts, you still get that upfront benefit by reduced repayments, which is what happens under the renewable energy target. And I think, it's probably, do you have any insights to the performance of the solar market and your activity under LGCs?
So there's a few good points you've made there. I'll just pick up on firstly I think that's really everyone's been limiting their systems to 99 kilowatts, right? Because you get STCs, you get it up front. So I think there is a huge pent-up demand. You've shared with me some graphs showing some stuff around that. That's I think shows that there's so much more solar that could be deployed if people were able to get more of the incentives up front. So I think that's a really critical thing. I think that the EUAs are fantastic in the fact that they help address this because they bring that incentive forward, that you're getting immediate value. They also detach it, their obligation, right, in many ways for the tenant and the landlord to be able to give some flexibility. So I think they're a great solution in terms of just allowing people to actually move forward and commit to solar and to commit to the solar that's going to suit their size. I'll jump. There's been so start asking questions. There has been one from Georgetta, which I'll answer, which sort of is around whether you would be better off oversizing the system now to take into account future growth, or should you start with a smaller system, get the STCs up front? Generally, I'd suggest yes, you can oversize it, and there's a couple of good reasons for doing this. Firstly, you can actually claim VEECs 3 times, so that can actually contribute to sort of and under your product's got to know that some of the value flows back if it's higher than the expected value that's generated. So yes, that is certainly a good option to make sure it's sized sufficiently that it's going to account for increased production in the next couple of years. And I think also, look, you can use the STCs, but you're actually going to get more value by using straight VEECs from the get-go. The VEEC price is higher, and you've got a longer period that you can claim for. So I'm not sure I answered the question, but
yeah, no. Well, you touch on. I think what you're saying, and you touch on some good points here. When you say oversizing, it's actually sized for what the business needs. What's the true value of solar to a business? So if you kind of look at the economic outcomes for a business under this product in Victoria, the levelized cost of energy is somewhere between 6.5 cents and 8.5 cents of a flexi VEEC discounted EUA funding solar, right? So a business just simply, we've gone into a lot of detail here. A business simply has to answer the question is, if you look at your electricity bill, there's fundamentally 2 parts to your electricity bill. One is my kilowatt hour and then my network charges. Now, if your kilowatt hour charges are above 6.5 or 8.5 cents, you're paying too much for electricity from the grid. So the cheapest form of solar that you're getting is from that which you generate behind the meter. The added benefit to that, well, the economics are such that, you know, the network costs are about 50% extra. So if you're getting 6.5 cent energy tariff, you're probably paying, what's that? That's 13 cents in total for electricity from the grid, where you're only paying 6.5 cents for stuff generated behind the meter. So I think that's a real takeaway here, is the cheapest form of energy in the market today is available to all sizes of businesses in Victoria utilising this product, and you actually get all the co-benefits of renewable energy. You know, we're dealing with a client at the moment who has some commitments to RE100 or zero net emission strategies and things like that, and there's a supply chain push to renewable energy and sustainability outcomes, which this form of finance also really helps on.
Should we jump in there and talk a little bit about, because this is important to note that I suppose from a carbon accounting perspective, certainly VEECs at this point in time are treated as an upfront incentive. They're treated as energy efficiency. Climate Active have confirmed that they don't see them as an issue. They're treated like STCs. You can sell them and you still have your renewable energy percentage under a Climate Active and under the federal government corporate emissions reduction transparency reporting cert. Anyway, it's too big a name. That.
So just so to go to that. So how does that work? You know, so you generate VEECs and it's recognised under those programs as meeting your obligations, or?
So it doesn't impact your ability to claim the renewable energy. Basically, if you register LGCs and sell them, you've effectively sold your renewable component of your energy. You just have energy. You can't claim to be doing renewable energy. So look, it is an area that's I would suggest developing. People's understanding's developing, and the way it's treated is changing. But I think there's a variety of things you can do as well to potentially. I mean, the value of the VEECs is so much higher that there's other options as well if you want to sort of have belts and braces in place.
Yeah, no, it's important. We did some work here under the RE100, which is the carbon disclosure, which is a
renewable. Yeah, renewable energy 100%. So quite a few. We work with some of the banks to help them achieve their obligations under that. Yeah, so it's a global initiative to get.
And so they have this concept of energy attribute certificates, which basically goes to your point there, which is if you sell any of these qualifying certificates, you don't get the benefit. It's the person who ultimately takes the certificates and retires. That's from a carbon accounting point of view, that's where the benefits sit. Now, this is a highly technical space that a lot of us are going into, but one of the opportunities is to do energy arbitrage opportunities, given that, you know, what we found is the value of the VEEC discount is about 40% greater than the value of the LGCs, primarily because of the 20-year nature of it as well. So there's opportunities for those of you out there who are committed to these sustainability outcomes and programs, how VEECs can play into that as an opportunity. And I think it's probably worthwhile really just touching on this, because there's a lot of solar installers listening to this today. Is what's the benefit really to a solar installer? Is, you know, if you're really sitting here and thinking about, you know, what does the solar market look like today, and what does my business look like today as a solar installer? How can I use this product, and what is the benefit to me? You know, it's all good and well. The benefit goes to the customer, the interest rate discounts into, but how does this help me? Well, put simply, this enables you to sell systems that deliver the best value to your customer, because you're delivering the full value of solar, like you're selling an STC product. In that, you don't have to worry about undersizing to 99 kilowatts to get the reduced repayments associated with that. It enables to go into it. So if we've done some market analysis, if all of those systems that have been undersized to take advantage of STCs, they go from 98 to 99 kilowatts, the average system size goes up to 213 kilowatts, and that's when we're looking at system sizes between 70 kilowatts and 2 megawatts, right? So there's a whole lot of potential out there for all the businesses. I mean, you walk out there and see how much solar panels are on businesses' roofs, very little. There's a whole lot of opportunity out there to make a simple sale, regardless of of the relative incentives out here. So in this way, what we've tried to do is trying to remove the perverse incentive of the renewable energy target to undersize systems out there.
And it's cash flow positive for the client straight away, right? I mean, that's correct, isn't it? So
yes, that's right. Yeah, most of, even without the VEEC discount, most of our products, most businesses in Victoria and New South Wales and South Australia will benefit from cash flow positivity. That means the savings are greater than the repayments, and that's your net benefit. So, and that goes back to the point, am I paying more than 6.5 cents in total from electricity from the grid? And for most businesses out there, including very large ones, the answer to that is yes. So they should be putting solar behind the meter. There's a few questions coming through here, and I've just seen one here. Solar create LGCs, you can cash them in or not be able to claim your generation. Okay. I might hand this one across to you, Hamish. Can you see that question there?
Yeah, now scroll down. I hadn't realised gone over a few pages. There's one above that as well that we'd come back to. Yeah, look, that's correct. I mean, the LGCs. So this is one of the value of the VEECs under Climate Active, the Australian government carbon neutral program. If you generate LGCs and you sell them, and it's the same under RE100 or SBTI as well. If you sell your LGCs, you cannot claim that you're using renewable energy anymore. So that's absolutely correct. The Climate Active and the federal government programs allow you to do it with STCs. You can sell the STCs, you can sell the VEECs, and still claim your renewable energy. They view them as more of a financial incentive than the environmental attribute certificate. I do think that may change over time, but that's currently how it's viewed today.
So that just applies to LGCs fundamentally. If you
LGCs, I mean, it's the same with carbon credits, right? If you have a project that generates ACCUs or any form of carbon credits, you sell those carbon credits. The emission reductions have gone to whoever bought them. So yeah, that's correct. Thanks, Matt.
That's quite an important point here. Is that increasingly there's of all sizes that have these climate active and RE100 targets, that you don't want to inadvertently trip yourself over because you're selling off these credits. What's the value of an LGC at the moment? $50. So you take that today and then you retire it. You're basically paying $50 right now to qualify under any one of these schemes. Whereas, you start to see future prices down there as well. So we're increasingly seeing businesses take that approach. I think one of the opportunities we see here is to take a really proactive approach and sensible approach, which is, forward purchasing your opportunity. So we give you the 2% interest rate discount. You can use that saving then to forward purchase your opportunities and have the cash flow benefits come through in that basis. And that way you've got a price arbitrage. So we think that, looking out to 2030, taking that approach, you're effectively, if you price arbitrage, you use that amount of money to go and forward purchase LGCs and then retire them.
You're a lot better off. Yep.
You're about 40% better off, right? So it's the same as having a 1 megawatt system, but you're actually able to claim 1.4 megawatts. So that's quite an important opportunity to consider for some of those sophisticated larger projects where we can have that kind of opportunity.
Yeah.
So I guess there's a question right now, and we're trying to keep track of any questions. Is there any other questions that I need to get into here?
There was one about, again from Georgette, about businesses locking in the 2% interest rate and still being eligible with VEECs. But I mean, I think that's the whole purpose of the program, is to lock in that interest rate. So yes, I mean, it's all about the VEECs is the thing that's giving you the 2%. So I mean, part of the process of accessing this product or the program is to go through the eligibility, which is things like the VEECs project needs to be registered before the commissioning of the solar system commences. Understanding how the energy is used on site, which is something that our business will go through, and we've done, as we talked about a lot before, we've done that for a whole bunch of customers. Understanding the export, so there's and then also understanding their other obligations under things like, as people have pointed out, climate active or SBTI or science-based targets, or renewable energy 100%,
Yeah.
100. So
I think we've started to touch on what does the business need? What's the perfect opportunity look like for VEECs and this product out here?
Yeah. Let's run through a few of those. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, go Scott.
So if we're thinking about for this product, we're talking about systems, definitely not using the renewable energy target, because you can't use both. Is that right?
No, yeah. So you can't use. You need to pick one or the other, basically.
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about systems above 100 kilowatts. Optimally, about 200 kilowatts is the kind of system that we're looking for, with minimal export. So there was a question here about a solar farm. Assuming that solar farm is exporting 100% to the grid, that kind of project is not applicable for VEECs. Is that right?
Yeah. No, you want high on-site usage. So it's a combination, right, of, you can have a larger system with I mean, schools and universities and things like that. Obviously, they're not open on the weekend, so they still have a reasonable amount of export, but they still work well if they've got a reasonable demand during the weekday, and so they're still going to have substantial on-site usage.
So some kind of rules of thumb. You don't really. What do you want to see? No more than 30% export. Is that kind of?
Yeah, it's going to depend on the size of the system, but yeah, no more than 30% export, let's say. I mean, it might be, if you had a 200 kilowatt system with 30% export, it might be getting a little bit closer to not being as viable. So yeah, not too much export. I mean, that's probably the key one. We would want to, you can't claim LGCs, as we said, at the same time. Just understanding what the site's used for, but I mean, that's our role. And as I said, with food and beverage manufacturing, universities, retail, we've done solar VEECs for all of them.
So a business that operates 5 days a week, export is about 30%, because you're exporting over the weekend largely, and the solar comes up and round. Batteries can have a role to play in here, but they've also got to have a material impact on energy consumption on the site. Is that right?
Yeah, good reminder on that one. Yeah, so look, depends how we model it, but ideally you want to see above 10% of reduction in the site's energy usage, or the solar contributing to 10% of the site's. I mean, we can go a fair bit lower, but yeah, that's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah. Okay. Life revolves around rules of thumb, at least from my perspective, anyway. So systems above 100 kilowatts, export no more than about 30%. The solar system has to have a material impact of about 10%
of the energy
consumption. And businesses in Victoria. Now, there's a handful of sites that are excluded from VEECs. Is that right?
Yeah. Look, it's probably, we can look at that eligibility at the time, but yeah, there's maybe 150 or so sites that are under an old program that currently are eligible. Actually, those sites can opt in, and a lot of the time, if they're doing solar and they're going to make a substantial impact to their energy, then it is actually more beneficial to opt in than not to opt in. So if they have very large gas usage as well, then it might not make sense. But generally, we would recommend they do often.
So that's really quite helpful. Now you can generate a picture of the energy as a key input. Solar is the cheapest form of opportunity. Systems above 100 kilowatts. Businesses have to be in Victoria. There's also, and that's where our product works, but just segueing back again, there's a question here about what types of energy efficiency activities qualify for VEECs under the Victorian Energy Upgrades Program. There's a whole raft of those. We touched
Actually,
on
one quick touch on is if the customer's doing a bunch of other things at the same time, they can all be wrapped up into they will attract VEECs as well, even if they're if they were doing a boiler upgrade or a heat pump upgrade or a chiller upgrade or motor upgrade. So yeah.
What about lighting? So we've got a client at the moment who's looking to put solar on their roof and also doing a lighting retrofit.
Yeah, so look, lighting's been phased down under the VEU program. It's been probably the staple of the whole program for the last 15 years or so. But it's being there's a bunch of lighting that you can't do anymore. But actually, under the measurement verification method, you can still do lighting and get the full value of it. It needs to. If it's done with solar, then it's going to be just sort of wrapped up in it. If it's done on its own, then it's often not got material enough value to make the impact, or it's more difficult. But yes, absolutely, lighting included with the solar is a good way to get anyone that's still not done their lighting across the line at the same time.
Well, so that's an important point. Is while lighting is generally perceived to be excluded from the scheme now, under this methodology, lighting and solar wrapped together increases the amount of VEECs and also gives you a greater opportunity for upside as well.
Yep. And presumably you could wrap it together in the EUA as well, Scott, I imagine.
Also. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But, from our perspective, what we've chosen to focus on solar, but there's absolutely anything anything out there that qualifies under the VEU that can be financed, we can absolutely do. And I know you and I have talked about HVAC upgrades and everything like that. I think from our perspective, just going into it, so long as there's a reasonably good estimate of the VEECs out front, any project that you can estimate with some level of, not certainty, confidence, we can apply this to as well. So come and talk to us if you've got those projects. But we're very simply focused on this product being targeted at solar, but it can be applied to anything that can be qualified and measured under the this methodology within the VEU.
Yeah, okay. There's a question from Malcolm Green, but about councils, and look, absolutely, councils qualify. So,
so they qualify for VEECs. Is that right?
They do qualify for VEECs. Okay, sorry. Yeah, good question. They qualify for VEECs. They may not qualify for. They probably don't qualify for.
Unfortunately, so a Shire council or a council doesn't apply for environmental upgrade agreements as a form of finance. Put simply, councils collect council rates and they don't charge council rates. So unfortunately, rules of thumb under EUAs is this form of finance is any government-owned buildings are excluded from environmental upgrade agreements, but not excluded from VEECs. So go and talk to Hamish about that project. I think there's opportunities there, but unfortunately, we can't do that for any government-owned buildings. Interestingly, though, there's often councils that are tenants in some buildings as well, where they're privately owned buildings. So we can do that kind of thing.
Yeah, right. Okay.
That goes into it as well.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So yeah, look, is there any questions that we've missed out here at the moment?
I don't think so, but yeah, look, if anyone's got any more questions, then obviously chuck them in here or contact us directly. There's a pity about we ended up starting quite late because we probably lost a few people.
Yeah, I guess just touching on that council discussion there. So in Victoria, I'm going to get these numbers wrong, which is quite sad. I think there's 79 councils. EUAs are available across more than 50 councils in the state of Victoria. So this is and I think we cover about 90% of state GDP. So all the major activity centres, all the major business parks and things like that are covered by environmental upgrade agreements. So there's big opportunities to really unlock that kind of opportunity within Victoria and this product. I think there's so one of the barriers to EUAs in the past was its availability, but now it's highly available throughout the state of Victoria as well.
And presumably, if a solar installer retailer finds a client, I mean, it's actually it's the customers that have driven the councils to sign up, right? Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, so we often have that, particularly in New South Wales and South Australia, but less so now in Victoria. But yes, if there is a customer that wants to use this form of finance, we generally try and work with that customer to approach the council. Look, let's manage some expectations here. You wouldn't want to have a small project try and do that, because the council's timelines are quite long. But larger projects which have longer timelines, that can manage that way. We increasingly in Victoria, we're seeing that happen less and less, because more councils are actually currently open, and we can do that. But definitely, if your council isn't offering EUAs, there's a very, very real question that should be asking New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia. Why is that the case, and how can they take advantage of that? Right, we've got a question here about, is there any chance that EUAs may be extended to home-based businesses? It's an interesting concept. As an environmental upgrade agreement lender in Victoria, we offer non-regulated finance, i.e. not consumer-based finance. And as soon as you get into retail lending, that is lending to what would be considered as consumers or residential property, we then get into some issues. So unfortunately, as a lender, and we had to actually just decline an application recently based upon this, because they had a business being run out of a building on their site, but it was deemed to be a residential property. So rules of thumb, back to that again, if it's a residential building, even though you run a business out of it, we all work from home now kind of thing, unfortunately, it won't apply for this form for us. It's enabled in the legislation, but unfortunately for those reasons, we don't do it. Going into a little bit of detail, in Victoria, just as the pandemic hit, the state government enabled residential EUAs, but there hasn't been any of that done so far in Victoria. Okay, look, we're getting really close to the end of the session, and I'm apologetic, really upfront, because of the technical difficulties that we had there. But Hamish, look, I'd really like to thank you for your time, and it's quite insightful. It's quite a complex area. What should people really do to make the complex simple here? If you can kind of sum it up in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Look, thanks for having me, Scott, on the session. I guess, look, I mean, solar is continuing to boom, right? And it's going to keep going. There's you look at EVs, you look at electrification, you look at potentially hydrogen as well. It's just going to demand, I think, for electricity specifically, is going to keep growing. So for all the solar retailers, installers out there, I think just use those rules of thumb to look, is it a decent sized customer? Can you make use of the EUAs? Look for systems over 200 kilowatts with good on-site usage, and then come and talk to us. Come talk to Scott or I or something. So,
look, my pitch to it is, if you're a Victorian-based business and you're paying more than 6.5 cents per kilowatt hour on your electricity bill, come and talk to us. You can get a 2% interest rate discount for 20 years across a loan that you don't have to repay if you sell the property, and tenants can come into it. Let's just go back to make the complex simple, which is a 2% interest rate reduction on a loan for 20 years. There's no other financiers offering that in the market out there, even on our mortgages. So come and talk to us. There's our email addresses on the link. This this video will be left up there and made available for everybody to review. Apologies for the technological problems there, and hopefully next month we will avoid those again. But look, thank you very much for your time, Hamish. It's been quite insightful, and it's quite a complex area. So look, please reach out, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks everyone for sticking with us through. Okay, thanks Scott. Thanks very much, and thanks.
Okay, thanks for that.
Okay,
see you.
Okay, see ya.
Bye. Oh, Hamish, can you hear me?
Yeah, one sec, I guess. Just give us a sec.